All right, I'm going to show you a clip. Obviously, this is going to be a heart-rending, but it's necessary. Isn't it a huge contradiction to say people have the right to defend themselves against guns against tyrannical government, with them being favored to militarize the police? People don't use guns against government agents almost ever in this fucking country. COVID-19 kills more cops than guns falling in the hands of criminals. Nobody fucking opposes state power in this country with violence. Are you kidding me? They just use it to shoot other citizens.
For me, that day started like any typical Tuesday in our pediatric clinic. Moms calling for coughs, boogers, sports physicals, right before the summer rush. Then at 12:30, business as usual stopped, and with it, my heart. A colleague from a San Antonio trauma center texted me and said, "Why are pediatric surgeons and anesthesiologists on call for a mass shooting in Uvalde?" I raced to the hospital to find parents outside yelling children's names in desperation and sobbing as they begged for any news related to their child. Those mothers' cries I will never get out of my head. As I entered the chaos of the ER, the first casualty I came across was Mia Cerrillo. She was sitting in the hallway. Her face was still clearly in shock, but her whole body was shaking from the adrenaline coursing through it. The white Lilo and Stitch shirt that she wore was covered in blood, and her shoulder was bleeding from a shrapnel injury. Sweet Mia, I've known her my whole life. As a baby, she survived major liver surgeries against all odds. And once again, she's here as a survivor, inspiring us with her story today and her bravery. When I saw Mia sitting there, I remembered having seen her parents outside. So after quickly examining two other patients of mine in the hallway with minor injuries, I raced outside to let them know that Mia was alive. I wasn't ready for their next urgent and desperate question. Where's Elena? Elena is Mia's 8-year-old sister, who was also at Rob at the time of the shooting. I had heard from some of the nurses that there were 2 dead children who had been moved to the surgical area of the hospital. As I made my way there, I prayed that I wouldn't find her. I didn't find Elena. But what I did find was something no prayer will ever relieve. 2 children whose bodies had been pulverized by bullets fired at them, decapitated, whose flesh had been ripped apart, that the only clue as their identities was a blood-splattered cartoon clothes still clinging to them, clinging for life and finding none.
Ain't no justice.
We were just watching a movie, and then she got an email, and then she went to go lock the door, and he was in the hallway, and they made eye contact, and he went through there and shot my teacher and told my teacher goodnight and shot her in the head, and then he shot some of my classmates and the whiteboard. When I went to the barracks, he shot my friend that was next to me, and I thought he was gonna come back to the room, so I grabbed the blood and I put it all over me. And
that's Mia Cerrillo. She was one of the victims in the Uvalde shooting, and there she's explaining to Congress how she saw her teacher being killed and how she saw her friend being killed, and then she had to actively take the blood of her dead friend and smear it all over her body so that the shooter would think she was dead and not kill her. That's in the hearings today in the House, and it was a really, really powerful testimony. Now, Matthew McConaughey thought, but we can come together. The problem is the extreme left and the extreme right, as you're about to see in this clip. But when they see the victims, and Matthew McConaughey is from Uvalde, Texas, when they see the victims, they're gonna act, aren't they? Well, hold. We're gonna find out if they're gonna act.
So here's what I want you to understand. Anytime somebody says the extreme left does X, I understand if you were to, I would understand the reaction of violently confronting that person. I get it. It would make sense to me. It would make sense to me. Now, I would never, ever advocate for it, but it makes sense to me. And that's the level we're at right now, is the centrists are in full-on delusion mode. The reason why they say that is because they want to target the left. All right? They want it to be you. They need it to be you. Their paychecks make them need it to be you. They have to say it's you. They all know it's the right, but they need it to be you. And they're going to need it to be you all the way until the right wins. Or we do. They're on the same side as the right. They're on the same side. Anytime someone says there's the extreme left, the extreme right, they're your enemy. Just as much as any fascist. And when you understand that, then you'll begin to operate with intentionality. And it's a lot scarier to think Joe Biden and Nancy Pelosi are just as bad as Ted Cruz. But they are. Because they empower Ted Cruz. They beg Ted Cruz. They bend over backwards to make sure Ted Cruz is in control. That makes them just as culpable as Ted Cruz.
But this was McConaughey after he gave a speech at the White House. He went on Fox News.
I didn't watch the McConaughey speech. You want to watch this dumb fucking lib speech? You want to watch this dumbass shit that libs love? I didn't fucking care. I don't fucking care.
To make the loss.
I can't. I'm not watching this shit. I don't give a fuck. I'm sorry. I don't give a fuck. I'm not watching it. I don't care. Let's watch the teacher. And then we'll go back to Matthew McConaughey. Let's watch this teacher.
I said, if I die, don't let it be in vain.
This morning, Arnulfo Reyes, the fourth grade teacher in room 111 at Robb Elementary School, telling his story for the first time as he recovers in the hospital from 2 gunshot wounds hit during the horrific massacre that took 19 students and 2 teachers' lives.
It was our typical morning, and we ate breakfast
Captions
together.
are useless.
It was going to be a good day because it was going to be our day of awards. And some kids in my class that hadn't gotten an award, all year, we're going to get an award that day.
Reyes says the children were enjoying the end of the year celebration. And while some students went home after the ceremony, 11 from his class stayed behind. They were watching a movie when all of a sudden gunfire rang out.
The kids started asking out loud, Mr. Reyes, what is going on? And I said, I don't know what's going on, but let's go ahead and get under the table. Get under the table and act like you're asleep. As they were doing that, and I was gathering them under the table and told them to act like they were going to sleep, is about the time when I turned around and saw him standing there.
The gunman entering classroom 112 at 11:33 a.m., then making his way into 111 through a connecting door, opening fire. Reyes shot twice, a bullet hitting him in the arm and lung, and a separate one striking his back. The 17-year teaching veteran hitting the ground.
I told my kids to act like they're asleep, so I'm going to act like I'm asleep also. And I prayed and prayed that I would not hear none of my students talk.
Did you thought you were going to die?
Yes, ma'am.
Then, while the gunman was still in the classroom, Reyes hearing police nearby. According to law enforcement, 7 officers were in the building by 11:35 a.m. They took gunfire and retreated. Reyes says a child in the connecting classroom, 112, called out for help.
One of the students from the next door classroom was saying, "Officer, we're in here. We're in here." And then, but they had already left. And then
7 cops ran away. Now, chat, this is a reminder. Every single cop in Uvalde has level 4 body armor rated to stop AR bullets. They have the training. They had school resource officers. They were all well armed. They retreated from one guy. 7 guys retreated. 7.
he got up from behind my desk, and he walked over there and he shot over there again.
The gunman going back into room 112 and firing more shots. At 11:58 a.m., children from other classrooms seen evacuating the school. At 12:03 p.m., a child from room 112 calling 911, telling dispatch where she was. By this point, 19 officers were inside the building, but no one went in. At 12:10, 12:13, and 12:16, more 911 calls.
Is there anybody inside of the building? Child is advising he is in the room full of victims at this moment.
Parents outside begging for police to save the children.
You know that there are kids, right? They're little kids. They don't know how to defend themselves.
You said you were praying. Do you remember what you were praying for? What you were saying in your prayers?
I prayed the Lord's Prayer. I prayed my Hail Mary.
Reyes says eventually he heard officers come back, telling the gunman through the door they want him to come out to talk, that they don't want to hurt anybody, but then silence again. More 911 calls, including from Reyes's classroom, but it isn't until 12:50 p.m., 1 hour and 17 minutes after the gunman entered the classrooms, that Border Patrol busts in, killing the shooter.
After that, it was just bullets everywhere. And then I just remember Border Patrol saying, get up, and I couldn't get up.
Did you feel abandoned in that moment by police, by the people who are supposed to protect you?
Absolutely. After everything, I get more angry because you have a bulletproof vest. I had nothing. You're supposed to protect and serve. There is no excuse for their actions, and I will never forgive them. I will never forgive them.
How many students were in your classroom when the shooter came in?
11 students.
So the shooter killed every single student in your classroom.
Yes, ma'am. That's when I got to thinking, this family lost one. This family lost one. I lost 11 that day. And I just went to my parents and said, I'm sorry. I tried my best with what I was told to do. Please don't be angry with me.
He got shot 3 fucking times, dude, with an AR-15. And he will live with the blame of 11 kids who stayed to watch a movie because it was one of the last days of school. I mean, like, legitimately, death penalty for these cops would not be I mean, I personally think they're deserters. And in the military, if you're a desert, death penalty is the fucking punishment. Why are police exempt from any accountability at all? Where's the accountability? This is insane. Bulletproof vests outnumbered them 19-1, and they said, we don't want to fight you. Come out. They wanted to arrest him. Level 4 body armor.
Reyes says no training could have prepared them for this. Even though the school had extensive protocols, he says laws have to change.
It all happened too fast. Training, no training, all kinds of training. Nothing gets you ready for this. We trained our kids to sit under the table. And that's what I thought of, at the time. But we set them up to be like ducks. You can give us all the training you want, but gun laws have to change. It won't never change unless they change the laws.
Reyes says he doesn't think he can ever return to a classroom, but he's making it his mission to honor the lives of his students and 2 of his fellow teachers.
The only thing that I know that I will not let these children and my coworkers die in vain. Absolutely, I will not. I will go anywhere to the end of the world to not let my students die in vain. They didn't deserve this. Nobody in this world deserves this kind of pain. No mother, nobody deserves this.
The absolute thing that I want to see is prosecutions of the liars who tried to blame a teacher, claiming she left the door propped open when she didn't. The first thing the cops did is they came out knowing the facts because they were there and lied about a teacher. These fucking animals should need to be punished. This is insane that you wouldn't. It's pure evil that you wouldn't.
I will go to the end of the world to make sure things get changed.
And it was also really important for Mr. Reyes for all of you to know that those 2 teachers who lost their lives, his friends, his co-workers, Eva Morales and Irma Garcia, he says they were awesome, amazing educators, and he wants the parents of their students to know that they, too, tried to do everything they could to protect them. So he says, yes, you heard that it's his mission. He wants to see change. He really wants to see the legal age to buy a gun raised. He thinks that will go a long way. And also, I just want to send out my love and thoughts and prayers to him because he's going back into surgery today. He's already had multiple surgeries. He has a very long road to physical recovery. Mentally, I don't know that he'll ever get there.
Why he kept saying over and over again, please let the parents know I did everything that I could. He did not have a bulletproof vest. Yeah. The others did. And there's so much more to the interview that we could not share because it was so...
What? How dare you?
Others did. And there's so much more to the interview that we could not share because it was so...
There was not a dry eye in the room where we were shooting that because there's no way you can't hear what Mr. Reyes has to say, what he lived through, and not feel and hopefully want to take some sort of action. I mean, we've if not now, when? You know, we've said that so many times.
It's just heartbreaking. If you can't hear that and want to make a change, and I don't know what's wrong with you, but you know, the horror doesn't stop for the family, and it doesn't stop for Mr. Reyes and the parents. I mean, it's just...
Oh, we can't we can't let you hear what actually happened.
Thank you.
It's hard to do.
Thank you.
I said, if I die, don't let it be in vain.
Holy shit.
I think we're being told we're more divided than we are. I think that the veil over the masses' eyes, I think we got the numbers. And we got to pull that veil off. Quit drinking that Kool-Aid because we're hearing it from both sides, the extreme right and the extreme left, and they have the microphone. And I believe we have the numbers. The masses have...
What microphone? The microphone I paid for myself? The $50 webcam I have? What are you talking about?
Have the numbers.
So he's right about the numbers, not so right about the extreme right and extreme left. I'm going to explain what he's right about and wrong about in a second. But first, let me tell you about the numbers. So this is from Vice News. More than 4/5 of Americans want to require background checks on all potential gun buyers. That's a lot, more than 4/5. So this is in a new CBS YouGov poll. So more good news. He's right that the great majority of the country wants all types of gun control. Almost 3/4 support passage of a federal red flag law that would allow law courts to order the temporary removal of guns from a person whom they deem a potential danger. That's 3/4 in favor of red flag laws. It's amazing. And 62% of Americans support a nationwide ban on sales of AR-15 semi-automatic weapons, while 60% of Americans think that laws covering gun sales should be more strict overall. So, well, are the Democrats going to fight him on that? No, the Democrats agree with that. They're very happy. Even more overwhelming numbers when you look at Democrats. Are Republican voters going to fight him on that? No, the Republican voters generally agree with all those policies in big numbers, as you just saw that you can't get to over 80%, 88% of the country being in favor of federal background checks without an overwhelming majority of Republicans agreeing. So far, McConaughey is totally right. How about the extreme left? Are they against that? I guess the extreme left would be progressives, right? No, progressives love those laws. They want those laws passed immediately. So what does that leave? That leaves the extreme right. Well, how did they react? Well, right after he went on Fox News, the next day, Jesse Waters, another Fox News host, said this.
Joking about the actor. I'm just saying, you know, what are the White House going to do now? They're going to put Tom Cruise out to talk inflation? Is this where we're going?
So that's a meme from online. So Jesse Waters joking around with Karl Rove. Look at my McConaughey. What are they going to bring in? Tom Cruise talking about inflation. Just a couple of days ago, at the lower half of it, you saw Jesse Waters in a screenshot talking to DJ Pauly D from Jersey Shore about inflation. So these guys are a joke. They think their audience is not very bright. So they're like, who would bring out a celebrity and talk about inflation? You Jesse Waters, you would do that. And so he's attacking McConaughey saying, oh, he's just a celebrity. You shouldn't listen to him. Well, it's going to get much worse because now here's Marjorie Taylor Greene. Apparently she has a podcast, God help us all. She is talking about how Lindsey Graham is not sufficiently loyal to the extreme right wing, that he might consider red flag laws, which remember, not only an overwhelming majority of Americans are in favor of, 3/4, but a majority of Republican voters are in favor of. But listen to what Marjorie Taylor Greene says.
He's ready to vote for anything Joe Biden wants. He is ready to violate due process. And this is everything wrong with Republicans in the Republican Party. And I'm calling out Senator Lindsey Graham, and I'm hoping every single one of you call his office and tell him that he is breaking his promise. He said he would not violate due process rights, and he's standing here ready to go ahead and do that.
Now, red flag laws do not violate due process rights. She made that up. The right wing en masse lie about that. There's, of course, a process that you go through for red flag laws, and that's why everybody's in favor of them, including, again, a majority of Republican voters. But Marjorie Taylor Greene says, Lindsey Graham said in a tweet that he's considering, he didn't say he was going to vote for him. He's willing to look at Joe Biden's proposals, including a red flag law. He didn't even mention the red flag law, but he just said in general that he's willing to look at it. And she's like, how dare you? Everybody call his office. Don't let him do any gun control. Okay, Matthew McConaughey, I really appreciate that he's fighting for gun control. We said it the other day, the 4 proposals he has and the ones that we just told you.
So the thing is, like, the reason why these libs and these moderates want to lie about the quote extreme left is because they know that every single one of our policies are overwhelmingly popular, and if not currently popular, if enacted, would become extremely popular. They know it. They know it. They know it. So they have to go out there and smear the far left with the far right. The only thing that's in common with the left is that they can put far next to it, and therefore they can make it well, the far left and the far right were divided. The far left stands for something. If you stand for something, you're on the far left. If you stand for nothing, you're in the center. If you stand for bad shit, you're on the far right. That's what it is.
Totally non-controversial. He's totally right that the middle of the country agrees with him. But the middle of the country is not the middle of Washington. The middle of Washington is corporate Republicans and corporate Democrats, and all they care about is money. To be fair to the Democrats on this one, on almost every other issue, they agree with corporate Republicans on economic issues. But on gun control, it's just the Republicans. The Republicans are taking millions in corporate cash. They're not going to do anything about gun control. And then they have a second problem, and it's the lunatic right, the extreme right. Like Marjorie Taylor Greene says, if you ever do anything that 3/4 of Americans want, will eliminate you from Republican politics. So whatever alliance she had with Graham, she's burning to the ground and having everybody rush into his office to make sure he doesn't pass laws that the American people definitely want. Well, and how about Republicans overall? Look, overall, they agree with most of the gun control, but a significant minority, 44% of Republicans, think that mass shootings are, quote, unfortunately something we have to accept as part of free society. No, we do not have to accept the massacres of our children. When you ask liberals, progressives,
I mean, that is so fucking depraved. I mean, this is so depraved. This is evil. It's evil. There's no other word for it. It's fucking evil, man. We have to accept mass murders of 4-year-olds or 4th graders. You are insane. Most guns in America are safe queens or shoebox queens. They sit in a closet on a shelf. They barely get fired. They don't even put holes in paper. They're just waiting for some kid to find it in dad's closet, point it at a friend, and blow their fucking brains out. Or for the owner to get depressed one day and take care of themselves. That's what 99% of fucking guns are in this country. Mike, you are taking the bait, hook, line, and sinker. You are stun locked on the gun shiny. We know they won't do shit about it. Why are you talking about it today when the January 6th hearings are starting? Oh, wait. Don't pay attention to that. Remember the gun thing? Let's keep getting mad about it. I say pay attention to the hearings so we know it was discovered by the January 6th panel before we go to the coup again. So we're more aware of their lies. Dude, the January 6th hearing is probably the most useless thing that nobody fucking cares about. It's not going to result in anything. Nobody fucking cares that the Republicans tried to steal the elections. Nobody cares. How can I tell you that? Because guess what? The Democrats, they had the opportunity to pass common sense election reforms to robustly protect our elections, and they didn't do it. They upheld the filibuster. What is the January 6th hearings going to do? You think that's going to damage? You think that's going to actually damage the fucking Republican Party? It's not! This might. It doesn't mean I'm not going to look at the stupid January 6th hearing. They start at 8 p.m. They're putting it in prime time. They want to make it a TV event. I know about it. I'll watch it when I have something to watch.
Except the massacres of our children. When you ask liberals, progressives, what McConaughey might call extreme left on that issue, nobody thinks that. We think, of course we can stop them. And of course, part of the answer is gun control. And this is the most benign gun control there is. The 4 proposals that McConaughey talked about, it wasn't even getting rid of AR-15s, which, as you saw in the numbers, actually Americans do want to get rid of the AR-15. But this law is, hey, can you at least be 21 to get the AR-15? Can you at least have a tiny waiting period after you buy the AR-15? McConaughey made a great point on that same Fox News segment. He said, people always talk about, oh, well, you got at 18, you could sign up to the military and get an AR-15. McConaughey said, yeah, but then you have at least a week of training before you even fire one bullet, right? And the Marines and the Army, et cetera, they all train you ad nauseum on that weapon, and they tell you not to use it unless you're in an extreme situation. They don't just hand it to a civilian and go, good luck, go get him. So it's super mild gun control. Every progressive agrees, everyone on the left agrees, but the extreme right says, no. We don't care how many kids are dead. And do you think they're going to pass those laws? I got news for McConaughey is he's going to find out the hard way here. They're not going to pass the laws. The Republicans are going to get bullied by people like Marjorie Taylor Greene, the NRA, Donald Trump. They're going to get bullied. And besides which, they're willing participants. They take millions, each one of them take millions and millions of dollars from the NRA and the gun lobby. So I want to show you one last thing from Mia Cirillo, who survived the massacre. And let's take a quick look here.
If there was something that you want people to know about that day and about you, right? Or things that you want different, what would it be?
To have security.
Do you feel safe at school? Why not?
Because I don't want it to happen again.
Do you think it's going to happen again?
So is she going to get the one thing that she wants? Absolutely not. Marjorie Taylor Greene and the others say, no, the extreme right vetoes any gun control. We will not allow it. We will tear down any Republican who dares to do the most reasonable gun control in the country that an overwhelming majority of Americans want. So I appreciate McConaughey and others with good intent saying, hey, wait a minute, can't we come to an agreement because the whole country wants it? Unfortunately, the answer is no. It's because of money in politics and the lunatics on the right. And if you're not saying that and you're saying you can't tell who's at fault, well, that just isn't true and it isn't helping. Why are you blaming the left that 100% agrees with you? No, you got to know who the real culprits are, and it is unquestionably the Republicans.
Because he's blaming the left because he doesn't want the left to be powerful for the stuff he doesn't agree with the left on. Like, I don't know, providing a good quality education to those children, or providing public housing, or raising the minimum wage, or taxing the fucking rich corporations. So you got to say the left is just as bad as the right. That's your only shot. Okay. I didn't mean to do another huge Uvalde day. Are you watching the stream unsubbed? You're making income inequality worse. You are doing anti-praxis. We are the only Twitch stream that will not accept scam advertisers, and I will never fuck you over by selling you crap